Hi everyone, I can't believe we're already in week 5. Time is just flying by so quickly. So, to talk about conflict theory and education. Well, a functionalist sees education as an imperative part of society. A conflict theorist might see it as a way to maintain power. The way I see it, a conflict theorist might look at all of us college students and think we're just part of a production line. We're just good little students being shaped and produced to be good little workers out in the world. Marxism, which is a theory created by Karl Marx, is the foundation for conflict theory. Karl Marx believed that inequalities contribute to social differences. He separated the working class, the proletariat, I want to say it correctly, and the capitalists, the bourgeoisie, into different groups. So to put it into simple terms, Karl Marx believed that the working class were those who produced things, and the capitalists were those who owned the things the working class produced, and they profited from it, which sounds pretty familiar to today's world. At some point, the working class, he believed, would get sick of the capitalists, and they would demand change, which would result in a revolution. He saw history in terms of historical materialism. So basically, he saw it as about the restraint and abundance of resources. And conflict theory sees life as a competition with a focus on the distribution of power, resources, and inequality. So one might wonder, how does conflict theory have to do with education? I think that most of us college students attend college in order to better our lives and just have better opportunities. Most of us don't go to college in order to later do jobs that are unrelated to our careers, although that does happen all the time. And so the question being posed is college right now a right or a privilege? I believe that these days education is a big privilege, as most people can't afford it. And once again, society is dividing us into different groups. Those who can afford college, which is usually being paid by parents, uh, and they tend to come from wealthy families, and those who can't. This is, of course, a generalization because a lot of parents, create college funds and put away money throughout the years since their child is born. But I think that a lot of parents, even those who put away money starting 20 years ago, could not have imagined how much college education will cost today. If an average person, maybe not an average, but yeah, about an average person spends like anywhere from 100 to 120,000 uh, dollars for a 4-year college. Uh, Imagine if a family has 4 kids and they all want to go to college. That's $480,000 that a parent has to save just in order to put all of their kids through college. And that's probably more than most people even save for retirement. So a lot of people do have to go into their retirement funds or other means in order to pay for their kids' education. And I think that's why it's become such a normal thing these days to take out loans. And I think most parents and kids just assume they're going to take out loans. They don't really assume they're going to depend on their parents anymore. So even with most like upper middle class people who fall into the upper middle class, they could not afford it. And forget the people who are in a lower class. And I don't really like to use upper, middle, lower class. I know those are normal terms, but I'm just using it in terms of like wages and money. Um, and so I believe that the wealthy once again kind of win out because they don't really worry about these things. Somebody who's from an impoverished area who, has to deal with all of life's struggles on a daily basis, things like where they're going to eat, how they're going to get their food, where they're going to live, taking care of family members, whatever it might be. It might be easy to say, oh, well, anybody can take out loans and go to college and improve their lives, but realistically, that's not so because, most people can't even complete college because of everything else that's going on in their lives. So, how do you expect someone who has all these other concerns in their lives to go to school, to take on loans on top of their concerns, which might eventually lead them to not finish school, and then suddenly they have all those concerns plus $50,000 in debt for a degree that they didn't complete? So there's just so many other factors that go into this, and I feel like, people, even looking at it from this perspective, people, might say, well, things are different today. Before it used to be you go to college and people always talk about Harvard and Oxford and Stanford and Yale but these days things are different. Networking is different. But I don't really think so because I feel like the students that go to Harvard and to those prestigious schools have a different level of networking. And I'm not trying to put down anyone, but even myself, because I'm on LinkedIn and all of these other things. But, the people you're going to meet through events happening in Harvard are a little different most of the time, probably, than the people you're going to meet at just a normal networking function. And so, once again, that gives a leg up to the people who are wealthy because those wealthy people often send their kids to wealthier schools. Um, so, yes, I do believe that um, the wealthy stay in control through education as well. And I believe that, you know, they say the difference between being rich and wealthy is that wealth is when you don't worry about money anymore. You start measuring things by assets. Uh, when you no longer worry about money but worry about investments. And most of us these days are worried about money, and that's just the truth of it. So, education, unfortunately, is not a right. It is a privilege, and it should be a right, in my opinion. Thank you.